Welcome back to Silencer Recaps. Today, we will recap an action film titled Bullet to the Head, released in 2012. At the beginning of the film, we are introduced to two hitmen, Jimmy Bobo and his sidekick Luis, on their way to their target in New Orleans. On the other hand, a man named Greeley can be seen enjoying some illegal substance with a prostitute by his side. Moments later, while disguised as police officers, Jimmy and Luis entered Greeley's place. Without hesitation, they shoot the target and plan to conceal the killing as a robbery. Jimmy notices the prostitute and plans to kill her too, but eventually changes his mind because of his strict rules against harming women and children. As they are about to leave, Greeley, who turns out to be still alive, attacks Luis. After Jimmy finishes the job, he reminds Luis of his rule not to hurt women and children. He is confident that the prostitute will not speak to the police because she is more afraid of them than the law. In the next scene, Jimmy and Luis go to a bar to collect their payment from their middleman, Ronnie. Ronnie is the agent between them and their client, who has not been named. Unbeknownst to them, another hitman named Keegan is closely guarding Jimmy and Luis. When Ronnie fails to show, Jimmy says he is going to the bathroom, giving Keegan the perfect opportunity to stab Luis. After that, Keegan heads to the bathroom to finish another one. But Jimmy manages to defend himself. While chasing after Keegan, Jimmy discovers Luis' lifeless body and realizes that they were set up. Before the police arrived, he took Luis's knife and fled the scene. It is revealed that Jimmy has a long criminal history and has been in and out of jail from a young age. Despite this, Jimmy is still determined in his career as a hitman. In the next scene, we are introduced to a Washington police officer named Taylor Kwon, who comes to town to investigate the murder of Greeley, a man with potential ties to law enforcement. Arriving at the police station, Taylor went to jail with Lieutenant Turner and questioned the prostitute from the previous night, who, fearing being implicated, said that she did not see the killer. However, when Turner takes Taylor to see Greeley's body, Taylor recognizes him as a former police colleague from Washington who was fired for various offenses. As Taylor investigates further, he sees Luis' body being examined and learns that he was a hitman who died at the same time as Greeley was killed. Because of this revelation, Taylor believes that their deaths may be connected. He contacted his headquarters and discovered that Luis had a partner named Jimmy Bobo. Taylor immediately asks Lieutenant Turner to find Jimmy, who has a connection to the case and may help them identify the real culprits in the murders of Greeley and Luis. However, Lieutenant Turner refused to let Taylor participate in the investigation and confiscated his unlicensed gun. Despite this setback, Taylor, acting on orders from his superiors, decides to meet Jimmy at a local bar. There, he tries to convince Jimmy to work with him to solve the case. However, Jimmy, who doesn't trust the police, immediately rejects his offer. Later, as Taylor was leaving the bar, he felt someone was following him. When he got to the parking lot, a fellow policeman fired at him, forcing him to hide. Thinking that this is the end of him, Jimmy arrives just in time and sends Taylor into his car to escape the attacker's gunfire. Taylor, in disbelief, points his gun at Jimmy and threatens to arrest him. However, Jimmy calmly explains that the police won't believe Taylor's story because his fingerprints are on the gun. He gave Taylor a final warning. He could either go with him to receive medical attention or wait for the police to arrive to take him into custody. Meanwhile, Keegan finds himself caught up in a dangerous lie and blackmail. He meets Marcus, a lawyer, and Morel, a corrupt businessman who always plays dirty to gain power. They were the ones who ordered Keegan to kill Jimmy and Luis, and now they ordered him to retrieve the evidence of their illicit activities. They bribed some congressmen to get the contract in their favor, and the evidence was hidden at Greeley's friend's place, which they discovered through one of the corrupt cops. Later, Jimmy takes Taylor to his daughter Lisa's tattoo parlor and threatens him to stay in the car while they solve the murders of Greeley and Luis. As Jimmy enters, Taylor tampers with his gun and calls Lieutenant Turner to inform him that he has found Jimmy and is about to find out what really happened to the murders. Inside the parlor, Lisa, who has medical training, treats Taylor's gunshot wound. Meanwhile, Keegan has arrived at Greeley's friend's hideout, where he exchanges gunfire to obtain the evidence of Morel and Marcus's illegal activities. Meanwhile, at the tattoo parlor, after treating Taylor, he and Jimmy set out to find Ronnie, the man who ordered Jimmy to commit the murder. With the help of Taylor's headquarters, they discover that Ronnie is in a bathhouse. Arriving at the scene, Jimmy instructs Taylor to wait inside the car while he proceeds to deal with Ronnie alone. Jimmy immediately confronts Ronnie and accuses him of setting them up. He demands to find out who paid him to kill Greeley, but Ronnie replies that he doesn't know and says he was just contacted by a client who hasn't paid him yet. However, as Jimmy puts on his clothes, Ronnie pulls out a gun and tries to shoot Jimmy, but it is revealed that Jimmy had unloaded the gun. Jimmy is about to kill Ronnie, but his gun fails to fire as the bullets are removed by Taylor, and this leads to a fight between the two. After the fight, Jimmy hits Taylor for tampering with his gun. Despite this, they still work together to find Marcus' house using information from Taylor's headquarters. Along the way, Taylor learns that Jimmy was kicked out of the Navy for illegally selling weapons, and this is why he turns to a life of crime as a hitman. When they arrive at Marcus' house, they find him hosting a masquerade party. Inside, Jimmy spots Keegan among the guests, but with so many people around, he can't take him out. Meanwhile, Morel was in a meeting with the congressman he bribed and discussed building an upscale housing development in the suburbs. Moments later, Marcus entered the room, but Morel, not wanting him to interfere, ordered Marcus to get him some more to drink. Annoyed, Marcus decided to add some flavor to the drinks while he was in the restroom. However, before he can do so, Jimmy and Taylor ambush him and take him to Jimmy's hideout. Unfortunately, it turns out that Morel knows about Marcus kidnapping thanks to the corrupted police officers who installed a GPS on Marcus' cell phone. Because of this, Morel found out where Jimmy's hideout was and immediately ordered Keegan to eliminate him. Meanwhile, as Taylor tries to subtly question Marcus, it becomes clear that he won't share any information. Because of this, Jimmy uses his own method, and with just one blow, Marcus quickly admits that Morel ordered Keegan to eliminate Jimmy and Luis. The purpose of doing this was to avoid Morel's involvement in Greeley's death. Back then, Keegan was a former mercenary with a history of working in Africa, and Morel was a notorious con artist who had pulled off many scams in Africa. Currently, Morel has no good plans in the city, engaging in fraudulent activities by tricking some officials into buying real estate at low prices. All the evidence of Morel's plot was saved on a USB drive, which is in Marcus's hand. With the information he needs, Jimmy wastes no time and promptly kills Marcus. Moments later, Keegan and his men storm Jimmy's hideout. But the two manage to escape just in time before detonating a bomb in the house.
Get the fuck out!
The next day, Jimmy invites Taylor to Lisa's house to examine the USB they got from Marcus. Here it was revealed that many high-ranking officials, including police, judges, and politicians, had been bribed by Morel. Upon learning this, Taylor immediately contacted Lieutenant Turner to report his findings, including the identities of the real culprits behind the murders of Greeley and Luis, as well as evidence of Morel's bribery scheme. Taylor asked them to meet up as soon as he arrived in town. As he was about to leave, Lisa begged him not to put Jimmy in jail, but Taylor had no other choice because of Jimmy's crimes. During the trip, Jimmy reveals to Taylor that he is not married, and that Lisa is actually the daughter of a prostitute who died 15 years ago. Arriving in the city, Taylor says goodbye to Jimmy, and they go their separate ways. On the other hand, a cop informs Morel that they plan to use Jimmy's daughter to retrieve the USB drive. Once the situation is resolved, Morel intends to eliminate Keegan, whom he considers a reckless and dangerous individual. Keegan, who sees himself as a hero and doesn't care about money, is like a bomb that is about to explode. Not long after, Keegan meets Lisa and quickly abducts her. Meanwhile, as Taylor recounted everything to Lieutenant Turner, he didn't think the officer had any bad intentions. It turns out that Turner is Morel's accomplice and is one of the corrupt cops they are trying to expose. Just when he thought it was over, Jimmy suddenly appeared and saved Taylor from certain doom. As they prepare to travel again, Keegan contacts Jimmy with a terrifying demand: hand over the USB drive or put Lisa's life at risk. Jimmy, full of concern for his beloved, rushes to the designated location, determined to save Lisa at any cost. Jimmy wasted no time and hurried to the meeting point where Morel met him. While alone, Jimmy plays his cards right and offers to kill Taylor in exchange for the release of Lisa and the USB. Morel quickly agreed, despite Keegan's objections not to do so. Unbeknownst to them, Taylor sneaked into the place and silently watched their every move. Driven by a desire for revenge after killing his friend Luis, Jimmy is determined to kill Keegan. After handing over the USB, he quickly pulled Lisa away from danger. Keegan, on the other hand, tired and fed up with Morel's greed, decided to take matters into his own hands. Showing no mercy, Keegan eliminates Morel and knocks out his men. Taylor caught the entire scene on tape, ready to use it as evidence against corrupt officials. As Keegan fights Morel's men, Jimmy urges Lisa to take cover and prepare for any danger. Unbeknownst to him, Lisa is discovered by Morel's goons. Taylor comes along and saves her from harm. Meanwhile, Jimmy is overcome with anger and desire for revenge against Keegan, and this leads to a fierce confrontation. As the two battle to the death, Jimmy eventually managed to gain the upper hand and was able to take down Keegan with Luis' knife, ending the brutal Mercenaries' reign. In an attempt to create a story for the authorities on what happened, Jimmy shoots Taylor in the shoulder. They plan to explain to the authorities that Marcus shot Taylor before he killed him, and that Jimmy was not involved in the scene. Eventually, the police arrived on the scene, and Taylor was rushed to the hospital for emergency medical treatment. Taylor chooses not to implicate Jimmy in his report, and instead describes the situation as a violent confrontation between rival criminals. A few weeks later, Taylor invites Jimmy to meet at a local bar. During their conversation, Taylor brings up the subject of Jimmy's relationship with Lisa and warns him that he will not allow any more illegal activity. Despite the circumstances, Taylor seems ready to give Jimmy a second chance, telling him to change his life. And this is where the movie ends.
You don't live forever.
Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.